in the interference with our elections here in the United
Wow.
States. The Dominion voting systems, the Smartmatic technology software, and the software that goes in other computerized voting systems here as well, not just Dominion, were created in Venezuela
News
at the
Now
direction
from
of
Fox.
Hugo Chavez
You
to
can go
make
there
sure
on
he never
YouTube.
lost an
You can
election
get your own feed.
after one constitutional
I
referendum
believe it
came
might have
out the way
stopped by
he did
now,
not
but
want
I
it to
had to
come out.
replay it.
We have one
can hear it in the
very
background if
strong
you haven't had
witness
the
who has
opportunity to watch
explained
it.
how it all works. His affidavit is attached to the pleadings of Lynn Wood in the lawsuit he filed in Georgia. It is a stunning, detailed
You're now
affidavit
listening
because he
to
was with Hugo Chavez
President
while
Trump legal
he
team
was being
update
briefed on how it worked.
on election
He was with Hugo
2020.
Chavez when he saw
And
it
this
operate
is
to make sure
Sydney.
the election came out
What is
his
her name?
way. That was the express purpose
Sydney,
for
let me
creating
look it up.
this software. He has seen it operate, and as soon
Sydney
as he
Powell.
saw the multiple states shut down
You
the
can't see
voting
it,
on the night of the election,
but
he
you can
knew
hear
the
it.
same thing was happening here, that was what had gone on. Now, the software itself was created with so many variables and so many
I'm enjoying
back
watching
doors that can be hooked up to the internet or a thumb drive stuck
It's a
in
great
it or
day.
whatever. But one of its most characteristic features
great day.
is its ability to flip votes.
We're
It can set
Americans.
and run an algorithm that probably
And we
ran
broke
all
the
over the
algorithm.
country to take a certain percentage of votes from President Trump and flip them to President Biden,
Awesome.
which we might never have uncovered had the votes for President Trump not been so overwhelming in so many of these states that it broke the algorithm that had been plugged into the system.
We broke
And
the
that's what
algorithm.
caused them to have to shut down in the states they shut down in. That's when they came in the back door with all the mail-in ballots,
out.
many of which they had actually fabricated. Some were on pristine paper with identically matching perfect circle dots for Mr. Biden. Others were shoved in batches. They're always put in a certain number of batches, and people would rerun the same batch. This corresponds to our statistical evidence that shows incredible spikes in the vote counts at particular times. And that corresponds to eyewitness testimony of numerous people who have come forward and said they saw the ballots come in the back door at that time. Notably, the Dominion executives are nowhere to be found now. They are moving their offices overnight to different places. Their office in Toronto was shared with one of the Soros entities. One of the leaders of the Dominion project in overall is Lord Brown, Mr. Soros' number 2 person in the UK and part of his organization. There are ties of the Dominion leadership to the Clinton Foundation and to other known politicians in this country. Just to give you a brief description of how this worked, I'm going to quote from a letter that was written, and I will read that to make sure I get the quotes right. This person was objecting to the United States acquisition of Sequoia Voting Systems by Smartmatic, a foreign-owned company. I believe this transaction raises exactly the sort of foreign ownership issues that CFIUS is best positioned to examine for national security purposes. It's undisputed that Smartmatic is foreign-owned and it has acquired Sequoia. They keep changing the names as they go along. Different times when a problem comes up, they just create another corporation and call it a different name.
Okay, I just want to clarify, this is Sydney Powell. We just got finished listening to Rudy Giuliani. This is President Trump's legal team, and they're giving an update on Live Now from Fox. No, News Now from Fox. That's their YouTube channel. News Now is one word. And they just now are speaking of, there were so many votes for President Trump that we actually overwhelmed the pre-programmed algorithm that some who were not so honest were trying to sway the election numbers for the other guy, we'll say. So we voted so much that we blew up the algorithm that the unscrupulous or the untruthful people had programmed into this Dominion machines with this Dominion software. What does that mean? That means they had to stop the in-person count and they had to say, "Ooh, we're wiped out. We need to take a nap. We're going to stop. We're going to vote. We're going to count tomorrow. So everyone, you can go home." And sadly, many of us who watched my channel would never have left. I know I would never have left. But when they did evacuate and they were gone, numerous people were trolleying in coolers and baskets and duffels full of votes to whom origin cannot be validated. And there were so many that they had to hurry to get all these different votes count. Oh, overnight, it must have been a frenzy, just so they could counter the must have been record-breaking amount of live votes. I'm very happy to hear this, so I'll continue now. Okay, again, Sidney Powell.
It was a voting machine company doing business in the United States. Sequoia voting machines were used to record over 125 million votes during the 2004 presidential election in the United States. Smartmatic now acknowledges that Antonio Mujica, a Venezuelan businessman, has controlling interest in Smartmatic, but the company has not revealed who all the Smartmatic owners are. According to the press, Smartmatic's owners are hidden through a web of offshore private entities, and that is, in fact, true. Smartmatic has been associated with the Venezuelan government led by Hugo Chavez, which is openly hostile to the United States, and of course, as we all know, communistic and really brutalizing its own people. The system has been continued there by Mr. Maduro and ensured his election. Smartmatic's possible connection to the Venezuelan government poses a potential national security concern in the context of its acquisition of Sequoia, because electronic voting machines are susceptible to tampering, and insiders are in the best position to engage in such tampering. This letter expresses concern of the Chicago 2006 primary election. And it ends by saying the products and services that are of Venezuelan origin, and evaluate Smartmatic's ownership to determine who could have influence and control over these and other Sequoia products and services are important to the national security of the United States. This letter was written to Hank Paulson on October 6, 2006 by Congresswoman Carolyn B. Maloney. Senators Klobuchar, Warren have raised these concerns as recently as December 2019. Why our government has not taken them seriously is beyond my comprehension, unless they have, some of the three-letter agencies have used them themselves in other parts of the world. We know that the technology was exported to affect an election in Argentina. That's admitted by our friend who wrote the affidavit about Hugo Chavez and his interest in Smartmatic. Again, in 2006, Carolyn Maloney wrote the Honorable John Snow, the Secretary of the Treasury, about the issues. Speaking of Smartmatic's leadership, one of the Smartmatic patent holders, Eric Coomer, I believe his name is on the web as being recorded in a conversation with Antifa members, saying that he had the election rigged for Mr. Biden, nothing to worry about here, and they were going to F Trump. His social media is filled with hatred for the president and for the United States of America as a whole, as are the social media accounts of many other Smartmatic people. There has been widespread use of this. Dominion itself is utilized in 2,000 jurisdictions in 30 states. It has been uncertifiable in multiple states who realized all the problems that it had, including Texas. Experts have described it across the board, from a Princeton group of 3 professors to experts that we have talked to about its end user vulnerabilities. People can admittedly go in and change whatever they want. They can set the ratio of votes from one thing to another. They can say that a Biden vote counts as 1.25 and a Trump vote counts as 0.75. And those may be the numbers that were actually used here. It's not just the swing states that were affected. The algorithm was likely run across the country to affect the entire election. Like I said, we only discovered it this year because of the overwhelming number of votes for President Trump in the swing states that caused the machines to have to shut down for them to backfill for adding votes. We have evidence of different numbers of votes being injected into the system, the same identical, unique 6-digit number multiple times in at least 2 states that we've analyzed so far. And I'm talking about like 341,542 votes for Biden and 100,012 for Trump.
Wow.
There's no explanation, no logical explanation for the same numbers being injected 20 minutes apart into the machine. The
That's
software manual itself, you can download it from the internet, and I would encourage you all to read it because it specifically advertises some of these things as features of the system. Why it was ever allowed into this country is beyond my comprehension, and why nobody has dealt with it is absolutely
You can tell
appalling.
the level of her disdain
Machines
for
were
what's
easily
going on in our
accessible to
country.
hackers. There's a video on the net that it will explain to you
You could feel it
how
in her voice.
a
You could
kid
hear
with
it
a
in her
cell
voice.
phone
She's
can hack
trembling.
one of
She's
these
so
voting
angry. She's
machines.
so disgusted.
There's been no oversight of Dominion or its software. Workers in each county were trained by Dominion, but there's no evidence of any monitoring otherwise. We have testimony of different workers admitting that they were trained how to dispose of Trump votes and add to Biden votes. The software has a feature pursuant to which you can drag and drop any number of batches of votes to the candidate of your choice or simply throw them away. So we have mathematical evidence in a number of states of massive quantities of Trump votes being trashed. Just simply put in the trash like you would on your computer with any file, and Biden votes being injected. That's addition to the flipping. I mean, it really happens in 2 ways. There's an algorithm that runs that automatically flips all the votes, and then each operator has the ability to go in, override settings. They can ignore a signature. They can ignore the top line of the ballot. They can go down ballot and select they want to change the results for Mr. The gentleman who founded Smartmatic. There's video of him on the internet explaining that, yes, at least one occasion, he admits they changed 1 million votes with no problem. Many of the jurisdictions that have had this problem might not have known of the issues.
Seriously
but
crazy.
Many did. And I think a full-scale criminal investigation needs to be undertaken immediately by the Department of Justice and by every state's
you can hear her
equivalent Attorney General's office or
inside.
State investigatory unit, because
She's so
there's evidence of different benefits being provided to the people who spent $100 million of taxpayer money at the last minute.
Can we get a refund for that?
To get the Dominion voting systems put in time for this election in different ways. There's one person that a lawyer told me got, quote, election insurance, meaning that he would be able to make sure he was elected. I'm sure they explained that feature in detail to many people who expressed interest in putting this voting system in. Texas denied certification of the Dominion system in 2019, but there are no doubt issues with the software that Texas did use, unbeknownst to Texas, I would imagine, since they went to great trouble to examine the Dominion systems and reject them. But other software, in the source code that does the alterations is embedded, we have been told, in the source code all across the country and all the voting machines. There's no doubt it has been used to alter elections in other countries. We know specifically that Venezuela exported it for that purpose to Argentina and other Latin American companies to make sure that the corrupt rulers who were willing to pay the highest price for being in office were allowed to rig their elections. This is stunning, heartbreaking, infuriating.
That's what I hear.
Unpatriotic.
That's what I hear.
Acts I can even imagine for people in this country to have participated in any way, shape, or form.
What have we
And I
become?
want the American public to know right now that we will not be intimidated. American patriots are fed up with the corruption from the local level to the highest level of our government, and we are going to take this country back.
Yes.
We are not going to be intimidated. We are not going
Thank
to
you,
back
Lord.
down. We are going to clean this mess up now.
Thank you, Lord.
President Trump won by a landslide.
Yes.
We are going to prove it.
Yes.
And we are going to reclaim the United States of America for the people who vote for freedom.
Yes.
How come you're not
Amen.
doing in the Wisconsin counties that use it? Why are you only doing a recount?
And excuse me, that we're not up to the questions at this point. So excuse me, we're not at the questions at this point. My name is Jenna Ellis, and I'm the senior
rude.
legal advisor to the Trump campaign. And I'd like to just explain now where we've been and where we're at and what you can expect from this process.
So rude.
So what you have heard, I'm sure, in the fake newspapers tomorrow will be one of two things. Either there was not sufficient evidence that we've presented, or we spoke too long. Okay, so what you've heard now is basically an opening statement. This is what you can expect to see when we get to court to actually have a full trial on the merits, to actually show this evidence in court and prove our case. This is not a Law and Order episode
Yes.
where
Watching
everything is
Twitter.
neatly wrapped up in 60 minutes. For those of you who
You see
are
that?
here in this room or have maybe tuned out in other networks, clearly you've never been court reporters. Trials take time. Putting on evidence
One really
takes
good
time.
option
This
with
is
this
basically an
webcam
opening statement so the American
that I
people
can
can
turn it
understand
around.
what the networks have been
I'll
hiding
show you what
and
I'm
what they
watching.
refuse to cover, because all of your fake news headlines are dancing around the merits of this case and are trying to delegitimize what we are doing here. Let me be
Watching
very
Twitter over
clear
here.
that our objective is to make sure to preserve and protect election integrity. President Trump has been saying from day one that this is about maintaining free and fair elections in this
So
country.
This is a replay
It is not about
Again, you can
overturning an
find it at
outcome. It is about
News
making
Now
sure
from
that
Fox
election integrity
on
is
their YouTube
preserved. And
channel.
every American should want
I
that.
just want to do my
If
part to
every
make sure as
American
many
is
people
not
see it
on
as
board with
possible.
that, you have to ask yourself why. And if your fake
Why
news
indeed?
network is not covering this or allowing you to cover it
Yeah, where's
fairly
CNN?
and accurately, you should ask yourself why. This is absolutely a legitimate legal
Where's CNN
basis.
right now?
We have
Are they
been
showing this on
asked
CNN?
to
I don't know, but they
provide
should.
an entire case that generally would take years in civil litigation.
This is
I've
great
been a
news.
prosecutor. I have tried cases with far simpler facts. One thing happened in a matter of minutes, and it still takes days. And we go through a jury process. This is the court of public opinion right now. We are not trying our case in the court of public opinion, because if we were, we would get unbiased jurors. I would strike 99% of you from the jury, and I would be allowed to because of the fake news coverage you provide. You
That's
are
right.
not unbiased jurors.
No.
And until you step out of your role as a journalist and actually go into a courtroom and you are a judge on a
That's
bench
right, they are.
that has sworn an
Stranger
oath to be
Danger
unbiased in
101
our separation of
on
powers,
Twitter writes,
then your opinion
mainstream
does not
media
matter.
may not be
The
airing
facts
the
matter.
press
The truth
conference, but I
matters. And if
guarantee
you are
you they
fair
are
reporters,
listening
you
or
will
watching
cover
it.
that fairly and appropriately,
Yeah, they
and you
are.
will allow coverage of our media team here and our legal team. That is absolutely shocking that all you cover are around the margins. And I've seen all of you taking pictures right now, and I can anticipate what your headlines are going to be. If you are not willing to talk about the evidence that has been presented, then that is absolutely unacceptable for journalistic standards. This is an opening statement. This is something where we have told you what the evidence will show, and we have given you a brief description. That happens in a courtroom all the time, where that's not the fact-finding process. That is just an overview. That is what we have given you today, because the American people deserve to know what we have uncovered in the last couple of weeks. Remember, this is such a short time frame, and this is an elite strike force team that is working on behalf of the president and the campaign to make sure that our institution is protected. We are a nation of rules, not a nation of rulers. There is not someone that just gets to pick who the next president is outside the will of the American people. And that is our task, because when we talk about voter fraud, it's actually election official fraud. That cannot stand. The Constitution requires that the state legislatures are the ones that make election law. It still has to go by the US Constitution. But what has happened in this case is that state and local level officials and all the way up have changed the rules. That's what the Democrats do. If they don't like the rules, they change them. And they change them at the last minute. They manipulate them. They want to tear down our American system. Our founders were so brilliant that they anticipated this, that there would be corruption, there would be foreign influence, there would be attempts to manipulate the outcome of the election, especially with who they called our chief magistrate. I would encourage all of you to go home and actually read Alexander Hamilton's Federalist 68 and see what he described as an advocacy position to adopt and ratify the Electoral College and the process by which we select our president. We select our president through the Electoral College not because it disenfranchises voters, but because it is a security mechanism for exactly the type of corruption that we are uncovering. And every American should be grateful and thankful that our founders had the foresight to put in those protections and provisions to make sure that your legitimate legal vote is not disenfranchised.
All right, so that was Jenna Ellis, President Trump campaign senior legal advisor. A lot to take in from this news conference, obviously, and we're going to break it down right here for you in just a moment here. Welcome,
We
everyone.
do
here
not
to News
need
Now
you
from
to
Fox
break
here.
it
We're
down.
taking a
Oh,
listen
that
there at
makes me
President
crazy
Trump's
when they
legal
do this.
team
Do they think we're
talking,
just
all
idiots or
about the legal
what?
challenges that they are going to be putting forward.
That makes me so mad. Why do these reporters or why do these people think that we need their help understanding simple English? That makes me absolutely crazy. I mean, this is probably one of the only channels you can listen to this live, and I respect them for that. But why did they just break in and try to break it down for us? We can't understand simple language. I don't understand that. What is going on that they think that we cannot understand what Sidney Powell and Rudolph Giuliani just told the American people? I don't understand that. Okay, if my voice is a little screeched right now, that really made me upset that they just broke away. It's over. It's done here. I'm clicking back over to it. I don't see it anymore. Is it still live? No, they've got commentators on trying to explain everything. And are they still doing something live?
That require or would be remedied by a vaccine.
Oh, they're back to the COVID thing now. Gosh. Why do they think we can't understand it? We understand. They just took them right off. They could be, I don't know if there's anywhere else on it. If I can see where they're now showing the news conference still ongoing, I would love to know so I could watch it. Oh my gosh. That is so frustrating. When did we become idiots? I'd like to know that. When did we become idiots that we need the media to explain to us, break it down into little bites that we can chew on without choking? Wow, that everything was good, News Now, until you did that. That really, that's not okay, in my opinion. Wow. So we have good news. We have a public statement by the legal team of President Trump, who have made it painfully clear they have a multitude of evidence and that they will indeed be continuing on. Looks like Right Side Broadcasting ended 1 minute ago, so I must not have missed very much. But still, don't you feel like you should be the one that decides when you've had enough? This country is really in trouble, man. We've got some serious problems. This is bad stuff. How long have they been doing this to us? How long have they been telling us what to think and what to believe? You know, I'm embarrassed because when I'm thinking of this, this Gore versus, was it Bush or Clinton? No, it was Bush, I think. When they're talking about this case that they're referencing, I'm embarrassed because I couldn't tell you one thing about this election. I don't even think I voted. At what year was that? I don't even remember what year that was. But I've been so busy. Oh, busy. I was so busy because I was a mother and a wife. So they took advantage of us. They took advantage of us being so busy to take care of our homes, our families, our relationships, and our support. They took advantage of us. That's infuriating. I don't like that at all. Busy, by the way, the word busy, B-U-S-Y, funny story, is there's an acronym for the word busy, and it's called being under Satan's yoke. I was too busy to vote in our country's election. That's my bad. I wonder how many other people are too busy to vote, too busy surviving. That's something we need to think about. Well, guys, that's the end. That's the end of it. It's good news for America. I want to encourage you all to have faith. Let me talk to you about faith before I sign off. I don't want to leave just the word faith. It's so empty if you just leave it there. How do you have faith? How do you believe in something that no one else can see? How? Trial and error. That's what it is. You have faith. Either it works out or it doesn't. Does that mean God failed you? No. It means that you believed in the wrong direction. You believed in the wrong way. And when that happens, you simply bow your head in prayer and you ask God to direct you to his will and his path for your life. And eventually you get spot on with accuracy. And I will tell you 100%, President Trump will indeed get his smooth transition to his second term of president of the United States. I have faith in that. I've lived a very long life of being redirected by God, and I am in his will and I live in his will, and I can tell you he will be reelected again. Hi, Nona Grace. No worries. I'm glad you're here. I was just sharing the live stream from News Now by Fox on YouTube, and they were sharing all of the legal evidence that Rudy Giuliani and that one woman, I keep forgetting her name, what's her name? Just one second, let me look. The legal counsel for the President of the United States. She's a beast. She's absolutely awesome. 1 second. Something with an S. Do you know what it is, Nona Grace? It's Rudy Giuliani, and her name is an S, and her last name escapes me. But I know everybody was watching. There she is. This nice lady here, man, she was really upset. Sidney Powell. Okay, Sidney Powell is, she's a long-lived patriot and legal eagle. And they just showed all the evidence they have. And Nona Grace, they're going to overturn the election. They've got enough. They've got enough right there. Yes, Sidney Powell. They've got enough evidence now. Isn't that awesome? We're taking our country back. We're taking our country back. And I wanted to say that we just need to hang on. We need to hang on and we need to have faith. I can scream from the rooftops right now. I feel so good about it. So good. I I can't even express how excited I am. I've got my flag right here. Of course, we had to take it in because when everything went awry, we were definitely cautious about who could see where our allegiance was, because this world has turned into a banana republic and people seem to think that they can destroy your property if they don't like who you want to be president. So crazy. There's so many haters. Oh my gosh, Grace. My own family. Grace, I have 4 children, 4, and only 1 agrees with me. Only 1. And that one doesn't agree with me with any other topic in life. Right now, we're not even speaking. But he does agree with me when it comes to President Trump being the best president we've ever had, at least in my lifetime. I can't speak for other lifetimes. But I was just sharing the audio in the background so that people could watch it or listen to it. My sister doesn't either. I don't talk to her either. So, you know, they talk about President Trump being the one who has brought division to our country, but no, it's not his fault. He hasn't done anything that I can see wrong other than obviously not be a good qualification for a pastor of a church. But I didn't elect him to be the pastor of my church. He's supposed to be the president that comes in and straightens it all out. And he's doing an awesome job. Grace, if you haven't listened to the full live stream, you really should, because they're finding out that so many people, so many Americans voted for President Trump. They actually had to stop the count on election night and tell everyone to go home because they didn't plan for such an outrageous turnout for him. It's crazy. He has. And that's why they don't cover it. And they censor everything. And there's probably going to be something underneath my live stream now that says, you know, the government, you know, we know that the Associated Press has called Joe Biden as the president-elect, except for one problem. The Associated Press and the mainstream media does not call the presidency. Wonder how many people thought they did. No, that's what the Electoral College is for. I don't understand how people, no, I take that back. I do understand why people could be so ignorant, because I was ignorant. I didn't understand what was going on. I'm sure there's many elections I did not vote in, and I will never miss an election as long as I can get to that booth. And I'm not mailing in any ballots. I think mail-in ballots should be Wisconsin. They said during this this live stream that Wisconsin actually makes it so unless you have an application for an absentee ballot, no absentee ballot will be legalized. So I think this country should go by that rule, and we should outlaw absentee ballots unless requested. That's what I think. The media, I think the media is more than one-sided. The media is evil, dark and evil. I'm one of the bold people who says what's on her mind, and I got to tell you, wow. I mean, I know that with smut and money comes the media, but seriously, this is crazy. And then did you hear, you know how they have GoFundMe, Nona Grace, and you can raise money for people in need and stuff like that? Well, recently GoFundMe has been freezing accounts that people have set up for other people if the people that need the money don't have their beliefs in line with the people at GoFundMe. I never even knew that was possible. I just thought it was charitable, but it's not. I don't think I'll ever use GoFundMe again. I think there's actually a new place where people are doing their donating. I know they're donating to another. I can't remember what it was, but there's another There's another online charity where you can help people. But I know I found that out. I thought that was absolutely wicked. Totally wicked. Well, I can say a million times, and I can preach a million times to pray, and pray constantly and pray often. It's we just need to hang on. America just needs to hang on and pray to God that his will be done. Because either way, even if we don't agree with God's will, it's always what's best for our country. And that takes a lot of humility to say, because I know we all think that we know better, but we don't know better. You know, maybe I'll go live again later. I'm going to get off. I know you people have a lot of things to do. I want to talk to my 80 million friends around our great country. Thank you. Thank you for being here with me. And I'll see you very, very soon. And I think the next time I go live, I'm going to talk about faith and prayer. I think that's good topics. I think we need to dive in there. What do you think, Grace? Amen. Glad to see you too. Glad I caught you. I'll be back. Lots to talk about. Let's pray about faith and prayer. And that's what I think I'm going to talk about. And if I forget to do that, remind me, please. Okay, everyone. Take care. And continue to hang in there. We're going to make it through this. We're going to do this. God is in control of all things, and he always will be. He always, always will be. Take care of yourselves. It's going to be okay.